We may have to trade them out. Every
Nick,
once
when
in
we
a while.
left last week, last episode, he was like, "That was so much fun," and I was like, "Okay, yes, it is. That's
This is what happens when you let them hang out with adults.
it's true. It's very true.
I've always got your back, Nick. I've always got your back. So I mean, it's definitely 2024. So we have election year. So
we are
it's
off to the races.
It is nonstop. So those that were like, "Oh, I'll wait till next year to find out what's going on," well, next year is here.
Yep.
Now let's find out.
Now it's time. So first elections are up in March. We have municipals and things like that going on. Presidential preference primary.
PPP.
Say that
It's
3
called
times
PPP.
fast. So we have a lot going on. So now I think we are going to really start getting in on the podcast of these races and what's going on, and start talking about issues and candidates and things of that nature.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll be able to talk to some candidates this year.
Mm-hmm.
And find out what's going on in local issues and how they're going to help us. So I think that's a great way to kind of head into what 2024 is going to be about for We the Locals. So that's really awesome. I have some updates, but Abby, if you want to go first, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just piggyback off of the candidates because, it'll be official tomorrow. I am filing my candidate paperwork in the city of Lighthouse Point.
Woohoo!
So yeah, that should be all filed tomorrow. I'm just waiting for the checks to come in. We live in an antiquated election system because what I was starting to tell you before the podcast started was I was getting the campaign account opened up this week, and a good friend of mine that goes to my church, she's the branch manager of the local bank that I'm going through. And I said, hey, I need to order the checks. I have to file by, Tuesday at noon. And she's like, oh, well, it says here that the checks aren't going to be delivered until the 10th. And I was like,
didn't they give you like temporary checks?
they don't do starter checks because
What?
almost nobody orders checks anymore.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I didn't get it for our business account.
But we didn't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to turn one in.
Well, but
Like you do for a
I
campaign.
called the city clerk's office
Yeah,
who
that's
called
true.
the supervisor of elections. You can't do a cashier's check.
Mm-mm.
You have to have it say, the campaign account,
Mm-hmm.
and the treasurer has to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
So $100 later, including shipping, I'm getting the checks tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. That's
Oh my
crazy.
goodness,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're definitely excited for you.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping to get the checks, run home, and file the paperwork at City Hall tomorrow. So
All right.
Tuesday's the
Awesome.
deadline at noon, so should have everything in, and we'll see. We'll see what kind of race I got on my hands.
So it's the same as Palm Beach County. It's March 19th.
March 19th. Yep.
Okay.
I think that's statewide, and it's interesting. I was talking to a fellow BREC member who is really tied in with the supervisor of elections office. He's head of our election integrity committee in BREC, and they're trying to figure out, because the Democrats are not having a primary.
Yep.
There will be no Democratic
Nope.
candidates on
We did
the
talk
March
about that, I
19th
think,
ballot.
in the last
They're trying to
episode.
figure out how to do the ballots, because if you're a Democrat, but you're
It should-
voting in a municipal election,
It should just have the municipal candidates.
yeah, but they're trying to determine whether they want, for the Republican ballots, do they want the municipal on the back of the ballot and the presidential preference primary on the front? Do they all want it on the same page? Then the municipal candidates are down below. I mean, they're trying to figure this out at the state level, because it impacts every single county.
Well,
or every
don't
single,
counties get to decide how they want to do their ballots, or does that come from the state?
I think the state has some say in it, from what I've heard.
I mean, after the fiasco of 2000, they got a little
Right.
like.
Yeah.
I think there's a template that they have to follow, but I do think
I think there
is
were some decisions being made this week as to
Yeah.
exactly how they were
Interesting.
going to do it.
I'll
so
have to
I'm
check
like,
with my source at our Palm Beach County SOE and see what
he
what's
was
what.
So he was
Yeah.
asking me, as a candidate, what would you prefer?
What would you prefer?
I think I would want it on the front, because
Yeah.
Sometimes people
People
forget
won't
to
turn it over,
over.
and if it's all
Yeah.
in the front, it's out of sight. If it's on the back, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely on
Yeah.
the front.
Yeah, interesting.
So I want to give a shout out to my fellow Broward candidates, municipal candidates. At the opposite corner of the county from me, in Pembroke Pines, Glenn Theobald is running for city commissioner, I think District 2. And I think it's going to be a 4-way race for him.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
So
crazy pants. I
He
did
has
that.
been campaigning since last summer.
Wow.
He's been
wow.
collecting signatures. He's been campaigning, like door knocking.
How many signatures do they have to get?
I don't know. But
You
I mean,
know, let us know.
He's been
Pembroke
out there
Pines.
knocking doors, voter registration, flipping voters, doing all the good stuff.
Actually, this is fun. If you are watching and you live in a municipality that you have to collect signatures, could you drop in the chat how many registered voters are in your city and how many signatures you have to get?
I can share with you Lighthouse Point.
Yeah, can you tell me Lighthouse Point?
So I think there's a little under 12,000 residents in Lighthouse Point. I think there's about 4,000 registered voters in the city.
Okay.
You need 11 signatures.
So I know.
So if you have a family of 10
registered voters,
you just have to get one other member.
So
and you
your-
have your 11.
Your little circle neighborhood is about all the line of
Your
your
cul-de-sac.
street.
Yes. Yes.
so because I know for
That's
Boca,
great.
we have about 100,000 residents, around 50,000 registered voters, and you have to get 200.
200, yeah.
So, but I don't think they had any percentage. They just were like 200. They put it on the ballot for people to decide.
Just like, how many
Because
do
they
we
didn't
need?
want people to qualify at the last minute.
Because
Like
they
I
didn't-
did 2 years ago.
And like Brian and Josie did,
Yes.
literally, and that was that was right after
How many
our.
did you need when you?
I didn't have to have any.
Oh.
I didn't have to have any signatures, and so I filed, and my paperwork was stamped. You had to have your paperwork filed by 5 o'clock, and I had my paperwork stamped for 4:45. And nobody knew I was coming in. I just like, whoop, here I am.
Yep.
And Brian filed like the day before
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So then after that, they were like, oh, and then the city council put it on the charter, like for a charter amendment, and then
Yeah.
there we are. And you had to have, and now you also have to have lived in the city for a year.
Oh, that's always been a requirement in Lighthouse Point. Like you have had to have lived there. It's true for being on a board or anything like that as well, to be
I don't
appointed.
think I've never seen that as a requirement on
Yeah.
Boca's boards that you have to be having lived in the city. You just have to be a resident.
Okay.
It doesn't say for a certain amount of time.
Speaking of boards, I think it's a good thing to kind of let people know. Like if you're interested in like becoming a candidate, it's
Yes.
a great place to start.
Mhm.
So all of your cities and your counties have boards that you can sit on. So
Everything has a board.
everything has
The
a board.
library has a board.
Yeah.
Beautification has a board.
So, like,
Charter.
I was kind of fast forwarding through some of Boynton's city council meeting, or city commission meeting a couple days ago, and they were like naming their boards, and they were like no applicants.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
applicants.
Boca regularly doesn't have applicants.
So it's a great way to like kind of figure out like how government works, how decisions are made.
For your
Robert's
name to
Rules of
get-
Order.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah.
To get your name out there. People
Yeah.
know, like, you can come in and say, I've served on this board.
Yep.
I understand how this works.
And most of the time, it's like you just have to be a city resident. Depending on the scope of the board,
Mhm.
sometimes you need to have certain qualifications.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
there's a lot of boards out there. You just have to be a resident.
Like, I'm pretty sure I went to multiple Boca City Council meetings where there was a board opening on the library board for like a long time. It finally got filled, but that's who makes decisions for things in your community. So if you have a city, so let's use again Boca as an example, the city library, and you have a complaint about the city, the way that the library is being run, or the books that are being highlighted out on the shelves, all of that
or
ultimately.
what programs
Or
they
what
hire.
programs? The fact that they do like the summer reading programs, and they give the kids like a pencil eraser, and like what kid's gonna really be incentivized to want to read a book for a pencil eraser? Not many. Like, so all kinds of things like that. And when we pay so much in taxes, you'd think maybe a little more incentive. Anyway, all of that goes back to the boards. So it's a really great place to, and a lot of them are very Democrat heavy because those are the people who,
Yeah, it's just like HOAs.
yeah, just like HOAs.
Yeah, that
which,
was gonna.
Jean Marie. Every time I see Jean Marie, if you're listening, you need to. Well, we should have Jean Marie on to talk about HOA stuff.
Oh.
If we want to have another a follow up episode to Fiery but mostly peaceful, because like it is insane what some of these people in the HOAs do and try to get away with. It's
Oh,
crazy pants.
Well, and that's another thing too is like you want to dip your toe in or whatever. Like
Yeah.
HOAs is another great
Yeah.
way to do it. Most of our communities these days are in homeowners association, and if you don't like those rules and those pesky neighbors that are like always eyeing you and like
Become
shaking their
them.
finger, you can,
If you can't lick them, join them.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's funny.
I feel a little sassy tonight, guys. Just throwing that out there. So, all right.
As we go into 2024, most of the qualification for a lot of the municipals are, like Abby said, is like winding down.
Mm-hmm.
So we should have a full slate of candidates here probably within the next podcast or two, where we can kind of start going over a little bit more of the candidates in particular areas. I want to do let Abby go ahead and finish it with if there was any other candidates that you wanted to highlight. You just mentioned boards, so I just wanted
we got distracted.
Sure. So as far as I know, for the March municipal elections, the candidates I know of that are running are myself, Glenn Theobald and Pines, and then our state committee man, Richard DiNapoli, is running in Lauderdale by the Sea. I know he sent out like his campaign announcement email. I think it was like the week after Christmas. Maybe it was the week before. I can't remember. So other than that, I think those are the only candidates I know of in Broward that are running. But we only have those 3 cities and technically Lazy Lake, which is like literally 12 homes.
What?
Oh yes, Lazy Lake.
It's its own city?
It's its own
like
city.
Briney's Breezes.
It's like Briny Breezes.
Yes, it is the Briny Breezes of Broward.
Briny Breezes of Broward.
Broward.
So yeah,
Broward's kind of Broward.
Yes. I will say, like, just to finish up on the qualifying, I think that we're seeing a lower number of candidates stepping up to run because of Form 6.
So tell us about Form 6.
So I had to file Form 6 as part of my qualifying packet. It has to be filed electronically. I did have to file the Form 1 when since I've been on the code enforcement board in town. It's I think that one and planning and zoning are the 2 boards in Lighthouse Point that have that requirement. It is way more invasive. It requires that you list out your assets. And for instance, I have retirement accounts. I have a 401k and I have a Roth IRA, and you have to list out the specific.
As you were saying that you're.
Yes. We're highlighting our other side hustles tonight here on the podcast. And mine is financial coaching, which I've talked about. I think I talked about in the Origin Stories episode. It's a perfect time of year to talk about it just because New Year's resolutions, everybody's getting their credit card statement from the Christmas and holiday spending.
Everybody realizes inflation is not transitory.
No, it is not transitory.
I was just talking about this with Nick on the way here very briefly because I was listening to this thing where they're talking about, the Democrats keep saying that the economy is doing so well. Job numbers are up and this is up and this is up. And I was like, most of your average everyday Americans don't give a flying about the job numbers. They care about when they go to the grocery store that things are 20, 30, 40, 50% more.
Jobs are up because now they have to get 2 and 3 jobs.
Exactly. Now people have to take.
They don't count is this your second job
or
that you're
third or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, people don't care about job numbers. They
Yeah.
care about how far their dollar's going to go to the grocery store. Anyway, I'm going way off
and
base,
you
way
see
off.
that people are putting more on their credit card. They're carrying a higher credit card balance from month to month. Savings is way down. It's just everything's tightening up, and you can only tighten up so much before things start to just break and snap. But part of the battle and what I help people with is just knowing your numbers, getting on a budget. Some people, they like to stick their head in the sand. They think they have enough money coming in, they can spend it however they want, but it eventually catches up to you. But if knowledge is power, and if you know what's coming in and you know what you have to pay and you make a plan for hopefully the surplus, then you could stretch your dollar a lot further and make informed decisions. So that's what I do in all of my spare time.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll just add that to Ab. It's I feel like my husband,
candidate, Breck treasurer.
so my husband's
full-time
always teasing
job.
me about being hello Dolly. He's like, you're always, and it's literally true. I have 4 different types of business cards in my purse for all the different things that I do, and I'm like, I'm not the only one. That's not normal.
Nope.
That's not normal. Don't we all do that?
But it's stuff we're passionate about.
Right,
It's things
exactly.
I love
I have
helping
about
people.
3 or 4 business cards myself.
Yeah. So back to the Form 6.
Oh, yeah,
so
sorry.
each investment. So
Squirrel.
if you have a stock portfolio and you are I have a handful of mutual funds that I invest my money in, mostly index funds or whatever. So it's not that long of a list. But if you're invested in individual stocks,
You have to list each individual
yes,
stock.
I think it's.
Wow.
I think if it's over $1,000,
Anything
over
of value,
$1,000, you have to
$1,000,
disclose it
yep.
on the form, and that includes like household goods and items and personal effects, weapons, artwork, furniture and fixtures,
Jewelry,
jewelry.
shoes,
Yeah,
handbags.
I mean, fortunately for me,
I was gonna say, Abby, you had to disclose all those fancy bags, right?
does Vera Bradley count? I mean,
What about your exercise equipment?
yeah, I did disclose like it's on the form. Fortunately for me, maybe not so fortunately, I was broken into in 2013, and so like most of my jewelry was
Aw.
yeah.
Well, this is an easier way for them to break in because they know what you got.
I know. Well,
That's
that's why I have a
scary.
guard dog and a security system.
Yeah.
That vicious
Buster.
buster.
Vicious
Well,
Buster.
I'm saying any candidate.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
candidate. Well, and we gripe about the state reps frequently and just, rules for me and not for thee, but they have had to file this for a while. So they're like, hey, if we have to file it, you do too, which
I'm still upset until they have sunshine. That's just,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yep.
I agreed. If the local commissions,
If boards have to have sunshine,
yeah, I had
why
to.
don't the state reps have to have sunshine?
I was under
They
sunshine
can
for
make-
both of my boards
They
this
can
year.
make side deals in the back corner, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
So,
It's disgusting.
but I filed it.
Disgusting.
I filed the form. The city clerk emailed me this afternoon because there's been some confusion. Fancy that, imagine that. Originally, they said you just have to include a confirmation, like a printed confirmation that you filed it, but you actually have to include a copy of.
So it goes into the city
Oh.
records?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That is.
Which I mean, you can look up Form 6
Right.
on the state website.
However, like a city someone who's living in the city who just wants to look up your like city stuff because you're running for a candidate, like running as a candidate in the city, most people are not going to take the extra step to go to the state to look up state filed stuff. But now they're going to be able to see the Form 6 in your city, and these are people who live in your city. All of that is it's easier to find. Like Stu said,
Oh, yeah.
security, all that.
Yeah.
This is lucky.
I know, especially like in Lighthouse Point,
That's tiny.
commissioner makes $1,800 a year, but like you have
Come
to.
on, Abby. We know you're doing it for the dollar.
That is not why I'm doing it. That's for sure. But to disclose all of that information for $150 a month, it's like.
Yeah.
But I mean, even at the state level, they only make like $29,000 a year.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how long they've been there, but yeah, same. It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
So I think that's all I have on the candidate and the March municipal front. So we'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see. We're off to the races, and I've got
I've
stuff in the works as far as events. It's kind of weird, like you were talking about it, how there was nothing happening when you ran in 21. And it was kind of even the same still in Lighthouse Point in 22. There were
22,
like
yeah.
we couldn't, like they wouldn't let us have events even at the parks.
Oh, I would just have stuff at the parks.
Yeah,
That's the only place I did anything was at the playground.
yeah.
But I had kids, so it also made it really easy to be like, oh, we're here to play. Would you like some information?
But now there's like all these scheduled events by like the
Yeah.
Lighthouse Point, the Parks and Rec department, and there's
Oh, that's awesome.
So
It's
like
going to be a little
places-
easier.
It'll be easier. I can show up. I can talk to a bunch of people.
Yeah. You'll have
Um,
already, like, you don't have to try to pull people out.
Right.
You'll be able
Yeah.
to go to places where people are already gathered and together. And
Yeah.
stuff.
So
So awesome. We have to keep us posted.
definitely,
I'm excited.
definitely.
We'll do more like in-depth candidate interview with you. I have a lot of questions just from like interview point as we get
Sure.
as your
Yeah,
campaign gets ramped up
absolutely.
and stuff. We'll talk about your platform
After you're officially
After
filed,
you're
and
officially
you're ready to
filed,
go.
because we only interview candidates who are officially filed. I'm just kidding. No.
We will make you an official guest of We the Locals
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Can I be a guest on my own show?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? We get to,
I-
it's our show. We get to make the rules.
It's my show. I do what I want.
It's my party. I'll cry if I want it. Sorry.
What was that you said last podcast? You're like, you can't yell and scream unless you have your own podcast.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Stop ranting unless you get a podcast and rant. That's why we did
I
it.
had
We were
some-
like, I'm tired of ranting to people.
I
I'm
had
going to rant to the
I
microphone.
had some people that were not happy with me ranting.
People lying too.
People telling fibs.
Fibbers.
Wow.
You know what they say about liars? Your pants are on fire. Like, I was like, she didn't say that.
Nowhere in that podcast did I
No.
use the $50,000 amount.
No, you were
Smoking
even
crack.
hesitant at the $15,000.
Yes. Yes.
We were,
Because
and
it
we said up
varies.
to.
It
We were like, it
varies.
could be.
And the reason that we did not get any filing fees in 2022 is because we didn't run any Republican candidates at the county level. We
I was
didn't run
gonna
any
say.
commission candidates. There were no, like sheriff, property appraiser, all those are every
Tax
4
collector,
years. We didn't-
Yeah.
This is the first year we have a tax collector.
But
Oh,
you've
yes.
never had a
We've
tax
never had a
collector.
tax collector.
That's right.
So, but those are 4-year terms, so
Yeah.
they didn't run in 22; they ran in 20. So we, obviously those types of candidates weren't on the ballot. So, logically, it makes sense why we didn't receive anything in 22. But they're basically saying, well, we're preemptively foregoing any fees that we may get in 24 because. Yes, we don't have any candidates filed to run now, but the qualifying period doesn't end until
6
June.
more months.
Yeah.
We have 6 months.
And we better come up with some candidates before June. I mean,
we
we
need
need to
some
run
candidates.
we need to run a Republican for every race on the ballot.
We
this
need to
fall.
run. Well, that's
Yeah,
what
we have
the
a-
responsibility of the chair of the REC should be doing.
Yeah, well, him and his ghostwriter, they can go.
Be nice, Abby.
They can go recruit some candidates, and they can raise money because that's the job of the chairman.
job.
That's the
I know,
job.
Palm Beach County. We need a candidate. We need someone to run for tax collector. It is time for our tax collector to retire. We need someone to run. She fired 8 people from her office because they did not get the vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
In 2021.
Yeah.
And she upcharged them on their insurance premiums if they weren't vaccinated.
She should have been fired by DeSantis.
I heard that there were different insurance companies that were talking about doing the
She
premium
did it.
for the unvaccinated.
She did it.
So
She should have
wrong.
been removed by DeSantis. And if anybody gets this to DeSantis, he should have removed her, and he should still remove her for that. That was absolutely a violation of people's rights, their health freedom choices, and so many things that he stood for in 2021
Yep.
and got himself reelected on in 2022. And yet she still holds office and is filing to run again.
And believe me, if I would have had more of a voice in 2020, 2021 when that happened, I would have been
Oh, we were, but we didn't have anything like this.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
If we
it was
would have
all
had
we
a
were
bigger voice.
all over social media. We were posting it, but it
I,
was
I need to interrupt real quick
Yes.
because I just got a picture of Roe giving his salvo.
Hey, shout out to Salvo
at the Breck meeting tonight. He was pitching Salvo Journeys. Shout out to Salvo. I know you'll have her.
Yeah.
I'll have his thing.
I'll give his little commercial later.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
awesome.
And I just found out that they were 13 people short for quorum tonight at Breck.
Oh.
Yeah.
So no votes,
Well, no official votes.
no official votes, no passage of legislation.
Endorsements, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of to piggyback on that real quick, I did hear, and I tweeted about it last night, Miami-Dade County REC held a straw poll last night for the presidential primary, and Trump won with, I think, 53 out of 65 votes. Now, I do understand they do a different, their REC is structured different than like Palm Beach County or Broward. They do it districted instead of precincts.
Huh?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it either until I talked to somebody this morning. But basically, regardless, Miami-Dade County has almost double the number of registered
Yeah.
Republicans than Broward.
And probably close to that of Palm Beach.
I have
mean,
to
there's a
believe
lot
that their
more
REC
Republicans.
should have theoretically double the number of precinct committeemen and women than Broward. So
They're huge.
65.
And they're getting organized. Like they're really
Well,
Miami-Dade.
they did a great. The YRs did a great job with that special election down in that
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
district. It was like a month or two
Yeah,
ago?
I remember that.
Where I mean, it was a pretty low turnout because it was such a weird time.
Yes,
for the
but
election.
they hustled.
They turned out the vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So props to Miami-Dade for that. But
They want to come give us a lesson. We'd like that.
all that to say, pretty sure that Miami-Dade County did not have quorum last night, but they were plastering the straw poll all over
So
Twitter.
This is, again, this goes back to what we were talking about in the last episode. If you have an internal poll, a straw poll, just, I don't know, keep it. Why has it got to be all over the place? Everyone's got to talk about it. Now it's like a thing. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just so weird, the whole thing, because it's like I don't understand the purpose.
I get the purpose in from the people who want it's point of view.
Mhm.
I just don't, again, going back to what we were saying, and I don't want to beat a dead horse with the stick about missing the purpose altogether. like the purpose of what we want to do in order to try to get our local candidates elected and our like our state level down candidates elected, and then spending so much time and energy on this that it's just, so I understand the purpose is to support Trump and to have a good, to show, to kind of combat the negativity in the press and the fact that he's being removed from ballots in different parts of the country and things like that. This is like it's an action that people can take that they feel like they're doing something rather than sitting home and getting upset, which I understand that thought process and that feeling. Yeah. The frustration stems from it's not going to change anything. So instead of taking that energy and putting it into something that's not going to change anything, let's take that energy and put it into something that will, which is like working your precinct and working on campaigns, volunteering for campaigns like Abby's, volunteering for campaigns like Bill Reichetter's, which shout out to Bill Reichetter.
Glenn Theobald,
Brian Stenberg, like working on these campaigns. So spending the time and the energy stirring up the base in order to support a straw poll that isn't going to do anything for anyone, as opposed to let's stir up ourselves and our base to get out for.
Confusing to people, especially like people who are like in the Republican Party that have the R on their, voter registration. They don't really follow a whole lot, but they kind of have, an earshot at the news once in a while. And if they hear like, oh, the Republican Party of whatever county endorses Trump, if they don't really know or understand what that means, they may think that they don't even have to vote. Like, oh, the Republican Party voted for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true.
Because I'm just going from like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have known what that meant. Yeah. I wouldn't have had a clue. I would have been like, huh, what does that mean? And then it's for the headline for a day. If you're lucky, it's literally for a couple hours you may get a headline. So it's like
and it's not going to stop him being removed from ballot in any other else in the country.
Which is, I mean, it's wrong. It's stupid. I don't understand why they're fighting so hard to take him off the ballot.
The thing of it is it's wrong, period.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
And it's wrong for the Democrats to do it too, because that's exactly what they've done by
not having a primary,
by not doing a primary.
Oh, I think every Democrat in the state of Florida should be rageful at Nikki Fried for doing this to them, for taking away their choice in this election.
She should be demanded to resign.
Absolutely.
If you are a Democrat voter and want to make sure that the best candidate, represents your state for the presidential primary or for the presidential general,
you just got cheated out of that by your state committee person.
Yeah. Nikki Fried and the Democrat Party said, we know what's best for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I if it were me, I'd be
livid. Like, I would have demanded her resignation. Absolutely. I would have been like, absolutely not.
So Democrats, we support you in removing Nikki Fried.
The problem that they have is like literally nobody else wants that job.
Right.
Right. They don't have anybody else.
Then they should say, okay, you want to keep your job, don't do this. Like, no, we're going to fight. Like, push it back. I mean, your choices. Everyone keeps talking. Democrats. Oh, well, Trump's a threat to democracy. Literally, just removed your democratic process. Like, literally, it's not figurative. Literal removal of the democratic process
without even any discussion.
Lawfare.
Nope. At least with Trump, like they're trying to say lawfully, like he's not eligible because of they were just like this nonsense.
Wave a magic wand. So bippity boppity boo.
Yeah. So it's like smoke and mirrors, right? So it's like, oh well, they did it to Trump when quietly they did it to all of these Democrat presidential.
What's her name? Weinsberger. Miriam. Gosh, what's her name?
Marianne Williamson.
Oh, the crystal lady.
Yes. So she's off the ballot. I mean, there's like she's like
RFK.
Well, he's running as an independent.
Oh, that's right.
That's why.
That's why. Because he knew they were going to do this. Yeah. And he was like, nope.
Yeah.
So Democrats, you can go vote. Well, no, you can't vote for. No. Change your party and go vote for an independent.
Yeah. What's the deadline? The deadline's like
it's coming
30
up
days
soon.
Before the election.
To change your party or to register to vote or both.
I think it's
both.
I think you can do it up to 30 days before an election.
So like February.
If I'm wrong, put it in the chat.
Yeah, correct.
But I'm pretty sure it's 30
I have
days.
That big pretty thing at home that tells me all the dates. I don't remember.
Yeah.
In my head.
I too have a list of dates at home.
No, they like RSOE mailed us out these big beautiful calendars with the color coding and all this stuff. I'm pretty sure it's on a stack on my desk.
To bring this back to the local.
Yes.
It is now January 4th, 2024.
Woohoo!
New
municipal elections are March 19th.
Yes.
And all we're talking about is Trump.
Yep.
And we need to be talking about our local candidates.
Not only that, they're March 19th. The ballots go out 6 weeks before the election. So technically, this election starts in like just over a month.
Yeah.
So,
and all we're talking about right now is the federal elections, and we need to be talking about local candidates. And
right,
local
and
elections.
that's the thing. This is playing directly
Absolutely.
into their hands.
That's the whole point.
Absolutely.
And it's like, no matter how you try to tell somebody, like they are getting you distracted.
Yep.
So that you don't have people to represent your voice. So whether they think they're doing it for good reasons or not, they're falling into the Democrat trap of we're going to...
At this point, I don't even think it's the Democrat, Republican. I think it's just the manipulating, because look what they're doing to the Democrat Party. They're manipulating all of it. It's this puppet stringing of everything.
I don't even think it's malicious. I think it's just that nobody really understands political strategy and how it works and how government works, so that it's like
we
shiny
shouldn't say
toys.
no one. We should say very few people do. And the frustrating thing is when you try to explain it to people, they can't hear you. All they hear is it's like
no, that's not true.
That's not true. No, but they just hear like right. No, I know exactly. Or they hear like the Charlie Brown, like the teacher, and you're like, okay, fine. I'm just gonna go do what I need to do.
I had a conversation with somebody a couple months ago, and it was a long conversation, and I was like, and it was about the budget for the county, and I was like, and he was like, it was about the SOE getting the additional money. And he was like, the commissioner should just, strike a line through that. And I'm like, they don't have a single line veto. It's not how it works. And then they're like, and then he's talking about the budget. I'm like, that's not how the budget works.
It's like that old, what was it, Geico? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I unfriend you.
I love that commercial. It's one of my favorites. But, I was just like, I'm like, well, I know. And I'm like, I'm in it every day.
That is literally what I do for work.
I know how it works. But he was like, yeah, no. They should just, I'm like, that's not how it works.
That's what I'm telling you. People hear us when we talk and they're like, so please listen to us. Please.
We're trying to make sure that you have the best representation ever to help you locally, because what happens is if we get strong voices locally, then we can get strong state voices, and then we get strong state voices, then we get strong federal voices.
And if we can't get it all the way up to the federal level, if we get strong state voices and strong county voices and strong city voices, then that insulates us from the insanity.
Then Florida secedes from the union.
And there we go. And we join the block that's going to, have you seen the grid where it's like 1, 2, the sections for the Hunger Games, and Section 3? Proud Section 3ers here. I mean, come on. We're with Texas and Louisiana and Alabama. I mean, let's go. We can't be beat. But we can only do that if we have people at the Tallahassee level, at the county level, and at the city levels that are willing to say, let's do this. Let's protect the county. I'm not saying that they are saying we should secede. I'm saying, but like in a more like down here level thing of like, how can we ensure that our residents in our cities, in our counties, and in our state are insulated from the insanity that happens in Washington, D.C.
Right.
So again, we have to be going from the ballot bottom up.
And COVID was that, like,
COVID showed us this.
Right. Yeah. That was our light bulb moment of like,
absolutely.
How do we make sure that this nonsense that happens, because most of the people on the ground, people in our community, that I would talk to, everybody's like, this is ridiculous. I don't understand why we're doing this. This is ridiculous. Who are these county commissioners telling us that we can't, walk up the aisle the wrong way, a different way up in public.
Go up and down those arrows. I'm going up the wrong way. I never felt so insane when I got to go the wrong way, not wearing a mask. I was like, ha! Which is very hard for me, a little rule follower. So this is stupid. Exactly. I can't do this.
So it's like by getting into those local, by protecting us locally, especially at home at the city level, it gives us a voice to push back on anything that we don't feel that is good. So if you have good representation, and that means talking to your candidates and asking them the tough questions.
Your local candidates. You're not going to get an audience with Trump.
Nope.
But you can talk to Abby. But
right.
you can talk to Bill.
I fully plan
You
on
can talk to
holding
Brian.
like office hours.
I love that.
Yeah. Because I think it's important for people to know that they can talk to their elected officials.
Well, that's like Marcy in the county level. Commissioner Woodward, she has an open door policy. You call, you make an appointment, she will see you.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
Unless you piss her off and then you get on the blacklist. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm just joking. That mostly goes for media.
there is nothing like that, Josie.
I know. It's a joke. It was an internal office joke. Never mind. I shouldn't have said that.
But there are some commissioners that
you can't. I mean,
you can't reach.
We tried. So like during COVID, we tried to get meetings with. I think one of us in our group is successful in getting a meeting with Weinroth, and sat there, showed him all the data, showed him all the information, all the things.
Did you have to take a COVID test to get in?
No, I don't remember. I don't know. I'd have to ask. I think it was Jean Marie, I think, met with him.
Okay.
And I don't think so. I don't think she would have done that. But she leaves the meeting thinking like, okay, he heard me. He was all,
he was all on her side.
And then he got went and sat up there and whoop, flipped it all around. So even if they do meet with you, they're not like honest about, I don't know. Anyway, I don't.
That's why, like, you interview your candidates. This is a job that they are applying for. So if you are their employer. I can't.
Yes.
You are their employer. And for those that want to go up there and say, like, you work for me, are you interviewing your candidates? Are you asking them the tough questions? Are they representing your voice? Now, if that candidate you see eye to eye. Above 50%, like 65 and above, that's a good candidate for you.
Because no one's ever going to agree with you 100%.
Exactly.
If they did, we'd all be the same.
Exactly. Yep. So it's like you have to pick and choose your battles. Like, okay, if it's a race, like a local city race that it's not really dealing with the federal politics of stuff, you may consider another party. Because it's really about being the best candidate that's going to represent
the candidate
you.
who understands the issues that you're facing and agrees with you on your vision for what you want your community to look like.
Exactly.
I had coffee with a resident in Lighthouse Point last Saturday that wanted to meet with me one-on-one because, she'd heard about me. She heard that I was running. She's on the other side of the aisle from me. And she just wanted to hear because in her mind, she knew that I was very involved with the Broward GOP. And in her mind, she's very anti-Trump. She's, she doesn't like all of the federal politics and just all the craziness at the federal level. And I said, look, that doesn't come into play in Lighthouse Point. Our issues in the city are nonpartisan. Like that stuff up there, like I told her, I said, I don't even care about that stuff within the Broward GOP because it's not really the purview of the Broward GOP. Like the local party is supposed to be paying attention to the local races. Now, obviously, the higher up you go, the more partisan it becomes. And the more those issues, like when you get to the state level, obviously like abortion and all that stuff, the hot button issues, they do start coming into play. But at the local level, it's nonpartisan. Your neighbors, neighbors, electing neighbors, like, everything affects you the same. Like if you've got a pothole on your street, it's not a Democrat or a Republican issue and like how it's going to get fixed and where the money's going to come to pay for it. So, I mean,
you mean that's not a Democrat pothole?
I mean, you never know.
Did it have a big D on it with a donkey in the middle?
But,
I mean, like going to like a Boca City council meeting, it's like I find myself agreeing with people that I didn't necessarily would think.
I agree with someone who I ran against. Talk about, let's just put that in your pot.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I didn't know I felt this way.
I was like, It was a very harsh realization when I was sitting in a meeting. I was like, oh my gosh, I agree with what she just said. Oh my God.
I mean, that's how I feel with Fetterman these days.
Dark horse Fetterman.
I'm like, somebody switched his pills for the good
I
stuff.
swear, it's like
They
the
gave him
movie.
red pills.
It's like the movie Dave. His body double is based.
Oh, my word.
Fetterman was red pilled. That's great.
This little pill bottle.
Oh, That's got to be a clip later.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
I'll cut that.
But yes, you just never know, like, where somebody's
Right.
Because if you're really truly paying attention to the issues, you're gonna do what's best for everybody, not just your party.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. This test that we're going through politically across the country right now is putting a lot of Democrats to the test because, believe it or not, many of them are coming out saying, like, yeah, I support a closed border. And
then also the whole, all of the protests that are happening in the streets, the pro-Palestinian, the pro-Hamas protests that are, like, disrupting people's lives. Like, literally, they are blocking the entrances to airports.
I saw that.
To airports.
Like,
during the holidays. People are trying to make it to the plane. Can you imagine? I've traveled with 5 children.
I mean, 5 violent.
I've traveled with my children before. If I got stopped at a protest trying to get to an airplane with my 3 children and my husband trying to make it to a family event, and now we can't get on another plane. Now we can't change our tickets. And now it's going to cost me money because these people are blocking. I mean,
how is that harming another person?
It is. Exactly. It 100% is. But talk about, like, fracturing a party, because those are the people, like, they're the more radical faction of the Democratic Party. But the more modern Democrats are like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm seeing my Democrat mayor. I'm seeing my Democrat, what's it called? Prosecutor. All these people not do anything. So my party is not protecting me and my ability to travel home with my children for Christmas. Like, that's literally what just happened. So I'm real curious how that's going to shake out over the next couple of months also.
Well, it's very interesting because you're going to see that there's going to be a shift in tide. So they're going to start cleaning some of this up because we're going to go into an election.
That would make it nice, bright and shiny.
So,
like San Francisco before the Chinese came to visit.
Yes, they cleaned up the poop.
That's exactly what happens. The Democrats are going to be going around to their states, cities, counties, and they're going to start cleaning up all of their poo that they've left laying around.
I don't know that they're going to be able to, but Ben Shapiro, I don't always listen to Ben Shapiro because his voice and I disagree with him on some things, agree on others. Every once in a while, I'm like, oh, what's Ben up to? What's he saying? One of the things I thought was very interesting that he said 2024 is going to be the year that the bills come due for all of the things that has been gone. I was like, that is a great way to put it because I don't know that they're going to be able to clean it up the way that they think they're going to be able to. They're going to try. But they have let so many people. I mean, New York is falling apart. Like these cities and like these and Denver.
You're going to see gas prices go down.
But they've already started going down.
Yeah, so
they're announcing it.
And they're gonna say, "Oh, the economy's so much better."
Look at all the jobs we created.
Yeah, exactly.
Full circle.
And then is what it really is that they think that the average person is stupid.
Yeah.
And that you're not going to check the receipts. So if
check the receipts, people. Check the receipts.
So if Biden says that it's true, then it must be true.
But I don't know. I'm hoping that this last year has, like, people can say that. They can say it's true all they want, but when they go to the grocery store and they're like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, what happens is if more and more people stop paying attention to the mainstream media and turn on podcasts like us.
Absolutely. So like, share, subscribe, support, all the things.
Yes. That then people start going, I wonder what's really going on here. Mm-hmm. And then you start to kind of like question things. Mm-hmm. And then you start to do a little research. And then you're like, oh, where did this information come from? And then all of a sudden you're down the black rabbit hole with the rest of us trying to be like,
spitting red pill. I'm just kidding.
Crap.
And then all of a sudden you're hoarding toilet paper and beans. Oh my gosh.
So pay attention. This is the year.
Beans mixed in with the bullets.
Oh. Beans, rice, bullets, toilet paper. We're all covered.
Bears, bats, Battlestar Galactica. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh.
So we have an opportunity this year to kind of spread a huge light. So for those that watch us, please share, like, subscribe, because we can get through that nonsense here at a local level and be really effective at getting good candidates, getting good candidates elected. So kind of going back a little bit, we talked about a few municipals in Broward. I want to point out a couple municipals in Palm Beach County. So we have Brian Stenberg that's running.
Whoop whoop, Brian! He's going to be door knocking this weekend. So if you want to go out Sunday, the weather's supposed to be nice. I think it continues this way and go door knocking.
Hopefully.
Check that.
The weather this weekend?
I think it was. Maybe I was looking at the wrong date.
I thought it was supposed to rain.
It's supposed to
And
rain.
cold.
I got to apologize because I think I brought the cold weather down with me.
No, I'm okay with the
still.
cold weather. It's fine.
all
Oh,
your
yeah, it's
fault.
supposed to rain. I was looking at the wrong day. But
Yeah.
either way, it'll be fine. Go door knocking with Brian.
Yeah, and if you hear Brian say, "Hey, I heard about you on the podcast,"
Yeah, that's right.
wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, my gosh.
So
Great.
There are a couple seats up in Delray Beach. 2 of those seats, we have candidates running that are, I think it's a nonpartisan race in Delray, but they are registered Republicans as far as I'm aware of. And then I'm not sure of the seats in Boynton Beach. I've put a couple feelers out. I tried to check their website and it was down. I couldn't see the candidates that were listed for Boynton Beach. Couple briny breezes. They have a couple candidates. Yeah, I call it tiny breezes. It's so little. They have a couple candidates, but they're running unopposed. Highland Beach, their candidates are running unopposed. So it's very interesting how this shakes up. I'm not going to give anything too official yet until we have more of a set.
Is Highland
slate.
Beach, is it like for specific seats or is it like at large?
I think they're specific seats.
Yeah, they're particular seats.
But I don't know if they vote at large. So I know like some cities, the person has to run in a specific seat.
But it's the whole city.
But the whole city
That's how
can
Lighthouse
vote
Point is, yeah. You run for a specific seat.
if you live in that spot.
No, it's not districted.
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
some cities I know. I'm not sure if Highland Beach is one of
I
them.
don't think it's districted.
So it's
So,
so
like-
you run for the seat A, C, B, C, and then it's at
Yeah.
large voting. Because I
In
can't.
Hillsborough Beach, which was the March municipal last year, there was 3 seats up and 4 candidates, and it was like, the top 3 candidates got the seats.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure Highland Beach is specific seats,
Okay.
I think so.
like Boca
I'd
is.
have to look.
But then, like I said, there are some, just so people know, you need to know your city, where the candidate has to live in a certain district, but it's voted on at large.
That's how John Brody's race was.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Which
Shout
I
out to
like
John
that.
Brody.
I really
What's
like
up?
that because I feel like that gives you representation from around the city, and you don't end up with like Boca, where all of our city council people live west of
That's
I-95.
crazy to me. That's
in gated
really
communities
crazy.
west of I-95.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them except one. I'm sorry. All except one.
All of our, city dwellers don't really get a voice.
Nope. Or the beach dwellers specifically.
That's
Yeah.
and to me that's crazy because in my mind I would think that the people out on the beach,
Yeah. They pay the biggest block in taxes.
well, yeah, and so like
Mhm.
logically
And they're the
they would,
most unrepresented.
They're the
Yes!
most unrepresented.
Crazy.
And they hate it. And they know it too. It's a
Yeah.
whole thing.
why don't they like stage a coup and run candidates for the seats?
They're not organized enough.
They're not organized.
I feel like they
Yeah.
want to, but I don't know that I feel like, they also live by the beach. So they're like, we
Maybe.
live by the beach.
Might be a good way to start a pack and say, hey.
The Boca Beach Pack.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I like that.
Ooh.
If you're
Trademark.
listening,
Snag that domain, Jessica.
yeah, right, Jessica. Jessica, how many domains do you own?
I can't even count them. I own quite a few. So there are spots open for the Park and Beach District, or the Park and Beach District in Boca Raton.
Mhm.
So
Which is a separate taxing district. For those of you who are not familiar with the city of Boca,
Yeah.
we have a separate taxing district, which is the Beach and Parks has its own board, its own
Yeah.
thing, which is how they can say the city taxes are so low.
Right.
Because we pay city taxes and beach and park taxes, and we put them together. They're about the same as the rest of the cities in the area.
What did I say that it paid?
Nothing. Bupkis.
The parks being on that board?
The Park and Rec's job, I can't
Park
remember.
Parks and,
Park
and
Park and Beach.
Beaches and parks.
District.
and it's their commission or their council
Yeah,
or
their
whatever.
commission.
Yeah, it's
Is
their
it
commission.
more or less than $1,800 a year?
I want to say it's more.
It's
It's not
But
a
they
lot.
deal in a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like their millage rate is around 3.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of
of money for
authority.
beach and parks.
Yeah, there's a lot of authority that
no
goes
wonder
with that
your
position.
city so because your city one's only like
Exactly.
what 4? So like your total mill's like 7.5.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's worse than like Pompano and Deerfield.
Yep.
Yep.
We're still less than Delray and Boynton a little bit. I think there's around 8. something like that. But yeah, but that's why they get away with. They sit on the city council, and Scott Singer can sit up there and say our millage rate is the lowest in the area. And you're like,
I had to read this book when I was in stats class in college.
Why are my taxes so
How to
high?
Lie with Statistics.
There it is. That is literally how you lie with statistics.
Oh, that's funny. That's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're
That was on Bill
interested-
Gates' desk. How to lie with statistics.
Really?
In a picture of Bill Gates, he had a stack of books next to him, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
read that book in college.
So
Okay,
if
sorry,
you are
Jessica.
a Boca Raton resident, you just have to be. Do you have to be an incorporated or just?
You have to be in the taxing district because it does encompass.
There's that one neighborhood that
there's
Brian
one
talked
neighborhood.
about.
Yeah, exactly. So there's one neighborhood that you can live in that neighborhood and be in but you aren't living in the city. So you have to, I think, live in the taxing district in order to run.
Okay.
And I don't
I mean,
think
it had polo in the name.
yeah, the Polo Club.
Was it the Polo Club?
I think so. One of the Polo somethings.
Brian, if you're listening.
Brian, come on, Brian, and drop us a Rumble rant while you're at it when you answer us.
You've gotten a lot of free advertising tonight.
That's
Brian.
right. Wait, hold on. I wanted to. Is it districted? It's seated. Seat A, seat B, seat D.
I believe that
Okay.
it's seated. I have to do some more research on this, but
Craig, if you're listening.
yeah, and figure out. But if something that you're interested in, you can actually send us you can email us at wethelocalsfl@gmail.com if you're interested in more information.
We
And
can
I'll do
send
the
you the-
research and I'll be able to find that out. I do plan on having more information about that at my South County region meeting in January. So, but I just wanted to kind of put it out there that there's still time to run for some of these seats in some of these areas.
Is the
So
qualifying open still for the
I
beach and
believe that it
parks?
is.
Through next week.
Probably.
Next
Maybe.
Tuesday.
Maybe.
I'm assuming they're all the same. I mean, I know all three cities in Broward have the same qualifying period, the 2nd through the 9th.
The thing is, too, is these municipals, is like some of these cities, they make it so hard to find information
Yep.
about elections.
Or they
It's
sneak it, which is what they did
Yeah.
in Boca, where they
like,
they
like
moved the
Boynton,
date.
Like, I click, and it's like unable to access this page or whatever.
Really?
Like all day today. So I was just like,
Maybe
I
they're
don't know what
updating
that's
it or
about.
something.
So I just thought that was weird that there's just a lot of, and I know some of the municipals, because of Form 6, we're talking about extending their qualification periods. So it's definitely worth calling your city and saying, like, hey, what's the deadline to run and ask for that information if you're interested. So don't count yourself out if it's something that
And
you're
don't
interested
forget,
in
if
doing.
you are thinking about running, the chances of us getting some good people elected, Republicans elected, is very high because the Democrats do not have a primary for the presidential preference. And so people who don't normally go out to vote for
Yes.
municipals that would have gone out to vote for the PPP will, there's a good chance that they'll stay home and just not vote at all. So
it's a great opportunity
it's a
for
great
people
opportunity.
who are really invested in their city. They want things, business people would be great, understanding the basics of business is a good foundation to just be like, what, let me run and see if, I could get it. You have a really good possibility of being able to get across the finish line. And I know, if you live in South County of Palm Beach County, which is Boynton Beach Boulevard South, my team will help.
Yeah.
Definitely. So just kind of consider that for sure, because we want every seat to be represented.
Yes.
and be a strong voice for our movement. And that's another thing too, is that we need to stop creating labels for ourselves and others, because I think is what happens is that when you get shoved into this little minority of people, it then becomes really easy to do this mudslinging, and then you know everybody's
It's easy to
bad.
other people.
Yeah,
The others.
So it's like I hear all of this stuff, and the only thing that comes to mind at this moment is the MAGA Republicans type of label, and it's not that anything's bad about that, or it's not nothing that you shouldn't necessarily not be proud of, but is what happens is that the Democrats then can put out that label And then it clusters everybody together. So those that really aren't paying attention and don't really know what that means, it becomes very tainted.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see us do it on the, I don't like when we do it on the Democrat side either. Like when we call the progressives and the left leaning, crazies or, whatever it is, because what I'm realizing is that more and more, especially on the Democrat side, you have the middle and right leaning Democrats that will vote for a Republican this election. They just will.
Yeah.
So if we can get away from the labels and just really start to talk about what makes a candidate a good candidate
and the issues that we're all facing and what we find in common with each other and how a candidate can help all of us address those issues.
Exactly. Because we all want a strong voice to represent us. And at the end of the day, these issues that we're tackling on a county level, on a city level, on a state level are really good policy for everyone. It's not like, we're going to pass an environmental bill that doesn't help everyone in the area. So it's like you've got to kind of think about, like Abby said before, like at the federal level, it gets way more partisan. But here at the local up to the state level, we have an opportunity to really kind of widen our net and just be kind of like, we just want good people representing us. We, the people, is what it's all about. And is what's happened is not only in like our city government, our county government, like it's not really about the people anymore. It's definitely not about the people in our federal government by any means. And I'm even noticing like in our local parties, it's not really about the people anymore.
Right.
It's like you have these state politics that are happening like in the RPOF here locally in Florida. You have Christian Ziegler that was, what's going on with him and how he was, I think he was officially censured. There's
a vote early next week.
Yeah. I think his salary was already reduced.
Cut to $1. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like they basically are cutting him out. There's all of this stuff going on, but we're not getting any information about this on a local level. It's all happening up there. So it's like if we're supposed to be a party of the people, why aren't these conversations happening with the people? And what do the people want? And so this is like the job of your state committee person and things of that nature. Like that's what that liaison is supposed to be.
They're supposed to be a voice. We live in a representative process and a representative government, and they're supposed to be able to have conversations with the people and then say, this is what the people of my county would like to do. This is what the committee people have voted on. This is what the committee people's opinion is, and this is what I'm going to go and represent, and not just it be your opinion on everything. And I think that is a fine line for candidates. Sorry, I think you probably would have said. I was going to say, I think it's a fine line for candidates to, if you're going to go be a representative of a district, of a area, you have to represent both what the people in that area want, and then also stay true to your own values and your own opinion on things. And so I do feel like that is a difficult line for a candidate to have to walk. And I would challenge candidates to make sure that you're ready to walk that line and know how to
really
have that balance.
I heard Michael Rubio speak, I think mid last year. And he actually said that he said it perfectly. He said something along the lines of he's like, look, I'm a pro-lifer. He goes, I believe life begins at conception, and I think that every life it should be cherished. He said, however, I know a majority of my constituents in my state don't feel that way. And so I have to balance out my personal views and what the people want. And he goes, in order to be a good senator, I have to be able to do that.
And it's a difficult thing to do.
And he said it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. But I represent the people of the state.
Well, technically, he represents the state to the government. The state, but yes.
Very clear. So, but I was like, he just said it perfect. Like his own views. And he's like, a majority of the people that I represent don't necessarily feel that way.
I'm going to come back to that because I have something to talk about it with that whole specifically that issue and representing what people want. But I know you had something else you wanted.
So, but it's about bringing not only the government back to the people, but
Mhm.
also the party back to
Yeah.
the people. Because it's like, this is exactly why Ronna McDaniel is still chair.
Ugh,
Because our
sorry.
state committee people didn't listen to
No.
the voters.
Mm-mm.
Because if they would have listened to the voters, I think that a lot of the stuff that is going on with Trump and this mass need to endorse him probably wouldn't be as necessary
Mm-mm.
if we had good leadership.
For
in
the
the
Harmeet
RNC.
Dylan up there.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so this all is because of our state party not actually representing the voters and giving us a voice at our national party and at our state party. So I'd love to see any committee men and women that are running for their counties just to make sure that they, have a strong voice and give our party
Understand
back to the people.
that you are going to represent us as the Republicans
Yeah.
in the county, the committee people in the county. You're not just going to be a part of what's going on up in Tallahassee, but you're going to represent.
They're representing every Republican
Right.
voter,
They're-
not just
Yeah.
the committee people.
Yeah,
Right,
they
in their
get
county.
elected
Yeah,
on the ballot.
That's right.
on
They
the primary
are
ballot.
primary
Yeah.
ballot election. Yeah.
And if you read the RPOF rules of procedure, it specifically states the responsibilities of the state committeeman and committee woman are to be the liaison between the county party to the state party and to assist the chairman in whatever fundraising efforts he or she requires of them.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to trash talk anybody, but I'm just going to throw out there. I think of the two, let's see, I joined the REC officially in 2021. I'm pretty sure in the almost 3 years. No.
Mm-hmm.
Has
Yep.
it really been that long?
Yep.
Holy
It's going to be
moly.
4 years in March since
I know,
COVID
since
started.
COVID. I know. I
Mhm.
had a conversation about this today, talking about how I met a few people through all of this, and I had a realization that was 4 years ago. Anyway, that I'm pretty sure I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've heard our state committee woman say anything, updates from
They don't give
Tallahassee.
reports every meeting?
Nope.
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 They have an opportunity to, and they say no report.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, I've
That's
heard
like
from
the-
our state committee man more often.
Mhm.
I've heard him speak more, but still not that often, not every meeting.
Interesting.
And the committee woman does not give a report every meeting at all.
No, it's
I
crazy.
actually didn't even know what her job was.
Right.
I
had
didn't
no
know for
clue.
a year. Honestly, up until probably at the end of last year, did I really
Yep,
understand what
me
their
too.
job was.
Isn't
Me
she
too.
like one of the higher ups in the thing? Isn't she like in
She's
the
on the-
accounting thing or something
She's
like
on
that?
the
or-
finance committee
finance
for the
committee,
RPO.
right?
And I had no idea who she was, what her job was, why she was sitting up on the dais.
And she has no reports
Nope.
about the RPOF
Nope.
or
Nothing.
anything. It's crazy.
Nope.
I just don't get it. So
See, that's the exact opposite. Our state committee man and committee woman give reports every single meeting.
They
Now,
should.
Sometimes they're not extremely relevant to the county party.
Right.
There was one that was like a 7-minute diatribe on the border.
You're like, we don't have a border with them. Okay.
But
our own
they
border
do,
problems, but-
our state committee man and woman are extremely involved with the board, with the goings on
Yeah.
inside
Ours
of
are
the party.
not. Interesting.
Very interesting.
That's very interesting.
Do many BREC members go to the RPOF meetings?
No.
No.
I didn't even know what the RPOF was until last year. Until Marcy's race, and we started meeting people running for
Oh, really?
state house, and then they were talking about the RPOF, and I was like, RPOF, Republican Party. Oh, okay. I didn't know it was
RPOF is the Republican Party of Florida.
Yes.
For those that don't know.
took me a minute to figure it out. Don't be
I
like
know.
me. Do you have? Because I want to go to the abortion thing. Do you have any final? I mean, we can. Come back, but
Not about candidates. I was just gonna start talking about maybe some bills that we've talked about. Oh, one good thing. I shouldn't say not necessarily good thing. Depends on who you are and how you take the information. But in 2023, Florida added 335,205 people
wait, can
That's
you
a
repeat
lot
that
of
number?
people.
from 365,205.
So what is that? 1,000 people a day?
Yeah.
Still,
Pretty much.
that's has been since 2020.
Yeah.
1,000 people a day moving here. We're full. Go home. I'm just kidding. Welcome to Florida.
But hopefully
Leave your
they-
old politics.
Leave
out
your
of
old
the state.
politicians and get
if
involved
you
in
fled
local.
a blue state, your local REC would be happy to have you as a member if you're registered.
Slash,
Republican.
just get involved in a campaign. Pick a candidate and
Yep.
get involved. Either one. Do that. I feel like that is almost more effective at
Yeah,
this
that's
point
true.
if you
Yeah.
pick a good candidate you really want to work with, and get involved with them. Which, by the way, I don't know if I've actually announced this, but I can say that officially I have joined Bill Reicherter's campaign as his campaign manager. So Bill is running for State House. Thank you. State House in District 90, which is butts up against Peggy Gossett-Seidman's district. So it's right above Highland Beach. So it's Delray, Boynton, up to Hypalexo. And then out west to Military mostly, and then there's a few little, wonky
in Delray,
cutouts.
it cuts out
just a little
to
Sims.
Sims
Yeah,
Road,
that's what it is. So very excited about that. So, I'll be talking about that.
Well, Bill is very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Juicy.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
I've been watching you, and you're doing an excellent job, and it's been
Thank you.
phenomenal. And Bill is a top-notch candidate.
Yes.
If you meet him, if you get to know him, you're going to love him. So definitely put any support that you can behind Bill Reicherter. Feel free to, what is it? ReicherterUSA.com?
No, BillReicherter.com.
Oh, BillReicherter.com.
I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh,
I'll
the
give
USA is his foundation.
No, USA is his social medias.
Oh, that's what it is.
So his website, yes. So
yeah. So if you can give him a couple bucks, I'm sure he'd appreciate it.
Yes.
So also Brian Stenberg.
Yes. So Brian's
BrianStenberg.com.
first. Brian Stenberg's race is first.
Yes.
So if you are looking to really get involved and want to go day by day on a race, and you're in the little South County area, Brian's will be first, and his election's in March, and then Bill is on the ballot in November.
Starting with a local race, like a municipal race, is
It's
great.
so much
it's
easier.
Smaller, more
Yeah,
compact. It's
absolutely.
shorter.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how these state and congressional candidates campaign for 2 years.
They raise a ton of money,
Yeah.
and they do it. So I wanted to talk about just real quick. Since we were talking about abortion, the state of Florida has an interesting thing going on right now. So last year in this legislative session, they passed a bill banning abortion past 6 weeks, which is now in litigation, which is why it's not in effect. But there's a petition that's been going around to get a constitutional amendment put on the ballot banning the ability to ban abortions, basically making abortion legal up till viability. And so right now, the petition, they have enough petitions to get it to go to the next step, which is it goes to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court of Florida to read through the verbiage to make sure that it is clear, concise, and the voters will understand. Now, I did not know this was part of the process.
Oh,
so this
yeah.
was new to me, which I find very fascinating because I can't tell you how many amendments I've read on a ballot that made no sense. And I'm like, so then who approves this? Apparently, it's the state Supreme Court. So I don't know how that's going to go. So I find it very interesting. A lot of the conversation that's going back and forth about it is the term viability. So just to be on the lookout for that, know that it could be popping up on the ballot and what exactly it means. I think a lot of times we've talked about this before in this podcast when there are amendments on ballots and all these words and you kind of stand there going, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Is a yes actually a yes? Or is it because it'll say, a ban to ban? Oh, and you're like, well, what does that mean? What's a ban to ban mean? Like, you have to do that extra thought process. So I thought that was an interesting.
Yeah, and viability is it's like who determines viability?
Right, exactly.
And
That's
what
why
does
it's such
viability mean? Does that mean life-saving, like they could survive if they received life-saving treatment?
Does that mean they're required to give life-saving treatment?
Yeah, so there's a lot of gray area. So if this is something that we want to be able to authorize the killing of babies, I think we need to be a little bit more precise and very clear
I think they're
standing.
Purposefully being vague with the language, and so that
so they can skirt around
right.
it.
So I'm very curious. It'll be something I'll be watching to see how the Supreme Court what they do with it, because it'll be up to the Supreme Court to go back to them and say, yes, this makes sense.
And
this is a clear, concise thing.
And I also want to make note that I actually ran into a couple of these people who asked for petitions to be signed.
So did a friend of mine at a Christmas event.
Yep.
Oh.
And I said, do you get paid? He goes, yep, I do. I get paid for every signature that I get. So it's not really people who
it's not a
really
grassroots issue.
No.
It is people. It is an organization. It's an organization that's doing it. Let me see if I can find the article. If I can find the name
Florida
of it.
Rising?
Is it
Equality Florida?
I think it might be Equality Florida. Look at you, Abby.
So,
rage groups.
Yeah.
They feel my rage.
So it's very tricky how they do it, because it's like people, you start to question yourself, why?
Ban to ban. What does ban to ban mean?
Yeah.
And
then
depends on what your definition of it is.
Yeah, and then,
Exactly.
so if you value
grief.
life, and then you're like, well, all of these people don't value life. Like, should I not value life? Like,
Floridians protecting freedom.
See,
Like
they're
to dig
so
into that.
tricky.
Floridians Protecting Freedom is the organization launching the amendment drive in May. They need to submit 891,523 valid signatures before February 1st. Currently, they have 863, so they're short a little bit. But they still have a few weeks.
Yeah, but how many of those are legal?
Well,
But the thing of it is that, and that's the thing is like people just are like, fine, I'll just sign it because
Yeah.
they just want them to go away.
Yep.
But it's like they're
oh, viability. Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. Nobody knows what those words
You
mean.
know where they get a lot of those signatures? I was standing down in line last December, like 29th or 30th, at the Broward County Tax Collector's office. Because there were a couple vehicles where the renewals didn't come in, and I'd go down to the tag office, and the line was out the door because there was everybody like me. So they're like shooting fish in a barrel, and the woman was there for the marijuana, the recreational
Oh, yeah. They
marijuana.
accosted me in the parking lot.
And
one
I'm like,
time
no,
about
I'm
that
not
one. I was
signing
like, go away.
I'm
With
like-
my kids, strange person walking
They're
up to me.
They're very pushy. I mean, I
It
guess
was
if you're
very
getting paid
uncomfortable.
per signature, she's like, well, why not? Why won't you sign this? I'm like, I disagree with recreational marijuana. Get out of my face.
You're like, you didn't know who you you're talking to.
Well, the one that Jessica was talking about, that was when we were at the Boca holiday parade.
At the
I
holiday
would've-
parade,
I
and then
would've-
Marcy- and then not Marcy.
And when we saw him, I said, I don't believe in killing babies.
Yeah.
And he like goes,
I agree with you.
I agree with you,
Then why are you out here doing this work?
because he was getting paid.
And again,
said
and
he
they're
he
working
got
for an
like 69
organization that
signatures
says
a day.
Floridians Protecting Freedom.
Yep.
Freedom to murder?
Yup.
Yeah. That's like that Ukraine one that was doing the child trafficking or the organ harvesting. What was the
Oh,
name of
yeah,
it?
that you talked about on an
Love,
episode.
like lots
Oh,
of love or
yes,
something. Yeah.
yes,
I was
so
like,
creepy.
Yeah, it's like they use these trigger words. This is why you've got to do your research.
Yeah, if someone walked up to me and said, I'm with Floridians Protecting Freedom and blah, blah, I'd be like, oh, cool, what's up?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I want my freedom protected.
And then I read it and I'm like, whoa, hold on. Or a lot of people are like, yeah, freedom, protecting freedom. Sure, let's go. Let's sign
Yep.
away.
Yep.
It's insanity. So that was one that's something to watch. And then someone sent me this today. It's a bill that is being submitted that is to have high penalties for lewd and lasciviousness behavior with children, which I think is really interesting. I think there's going to be some reworking of the language, but it's basically like an anti-grooming bill. So, yeah.
There wasn't any, well,
It was submitted
what
by...
was the bill last session?
That was the one where the high penalties for child abuse.
No, they were taking, so I don't know if it was a bill passed or it was just where they were taking their occupational license away. Like if they're doing the drag shows.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's that one. No, so this one is creates lewd or lascivious grooming, creates offense to lewd or lascivious grooming. It was filed yesterday.
Who determines that?
Yeah.
Yeah, those seem like very subjective terms.
So I think this is one that's, I mean, it's already got a lot of stuff like in it.
Is that a good one or a bad one? I'm trying to figure that out.
So it sounds like it could be good. So it says at the beginning, an act relating to lewd or lascivious grooming, amending an already put place, creating the offense of lewd or lascivious grooming, providing criminal penalties, and providing an effective date. So basically, it sounds like it's giving penalties as opposed to just being like, you shouldn't do that.
But what's the penalties?
That doesn't say.
We don't know that.
Felon. Oh, here it is. Person 18 years old. 18. Okay, I'll just read it. A person who engages in the process of preparing or encouraging a child to engage in activity. Not going to say the words because we're on camera. Activity through overtly themed communication with the child or in conduct with or observed by the child without permission from the child's parent. See, this is a weird thing because it says without permission from the child's parent or legal guardian commits lewd or lascivious grooming. So
if they have their permission, it's okay?
yeah, I don't understand this. So a person 18 years, and then B, a person 18 years of age or older who commits lewd or lascivious grooming commits a felony of the second degree and punishable as provided in sections, and then it goes through these sections. So I'm not sure. I think it's interesting that it was put forward, but I'm very confused about the
Might have to
verbiage.
track that bill.
Yeah, so it's something we should track. I don't know which way it's going
Have
right
we
now.
talked about that before? How you can track bills and sign up for updates on the My Florida House and
I don't think
Florida
we've talked about it on
Senate.gov?
here,
No,
but
I
we
don't
should.
think-
That's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah,
point
that's a
because we're
good
about
point.
to start legislative session. Kicks off next week. So
Yes.
on Wednesday, right, or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday of next week. So it's Palm Beach County days, and it kicks off. Legislative session in Florida is 60 days. So it'll be from the 7th?
The 9th is Tuesday.
9th is Tuesday till the 9th of March.
I think it was Senator
something like that.
Berman that mentioned the other day that she's trying to petition to do a full year legislative session.
Oh. That sounds like a bad idea.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
I mean, I understand to some degree because I feel like it is kind of chaotic. They have to cram in all this stuff and everything's like boom, 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 and things pass quickly. And I don't think there's enough time for people to really push back on stuff.
Even though the session's 60 days, like they're up there in the fall doing committee meetings and
Yeah,
a
they're
lot
preparing the
they're-
bills.
yeah.
and-
Right. But I feel like as far as residents, it's harder for us to track things because we got to keep tracking a lot of things all at the same time because they're all happening at the same
Yeah.
time.
Same
Whereas
time.
if it's a longer year, but at the same time, will they just be doing all things at the same time for a longer period and then bringing in more bills?
Yeah, that's
But are
like
they
election season now. Seems
Yeah,
like
I was
it's
gonna
2
say-
years long.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, at least the House reps, they have to campaign every 2 years. And it's like, are they really going to get much done when, every other year they're campaigning for
No.
re-election?
No.
Right.
All right. Speaking of campaigning for re-election.
Yes.
The renowned political scientist Larry Sabato once said, every election is determined by the people who show up. In today's world, it's more likely every election is determined by the people who get out the vote. We'll take it a step further. It's those who chase the most ballots who win elections. Anyone who's participated in a political campaign organization knows that they are inherently disorganized, even though they're called organizations. Fragmented, and they can be reactive. And not to mention those pesky consultants, a combination of used car salesmen and parasites on a rhino's rear end, who care more about funding their corner office than the candidate winning their office. And this is where Salvo Journeys comes in. Salvo is a voter outreach platform that gives your political campaign, party, and PAC full control over voter outreach. It lets you do things like plan a campaign roadmap for activities, streamline petition signing, remind voters of important election dates, and of course, chase ballots during the get out the vote period. Influencing a voter takes at least 10 contacts. So how do we keep track of all of who have you emailed, texted, door knocked, spoken to, and sent direct mailers to? There's so many vendors and there's so many disconnected tools. Salvo solves all of this by allowing you to target the right voter with the right message at the right time. It unifies the fragmented tool sets into one simple-to-use software with distinct insights, campaign milestones, voter data segmentation, contact timelines, outreach productivity, and of course, voter outreach salvos. Salvo is cost-effective because it eliminates the consultant and their vendor buddies, and it lets you go directly to the voter at the best price possible. We have 2 very affordable pricing options, month-to-month pricing plans for a do-it-yourself program, or you can hire a Salvo Journey guide for a month or more to get you going and help you coordinate your ground game. Things like texting, emailing, door hangers, and mailers are all at best in market value, and it is easier for you to keep track of who you've contacted because it's all in one spot. The 2024 election cycle is going to be hectic. I feel like it's already hectic. We're only 4 days in. So start planning your voter outreach now with Salvo Journeys. Go to www.salvo.today. .today, not .com, .today, to create your account. We, the Locals podcast viewers, get a free guided journey session to help you kickstart your campaign. So make sure that you found Salvo through us. Salvo Journeys, Campaign Victory Simplified. And Abby, you took a demo with Salvo. What did you think?
I think it's really cool. It's I have limited. I used paper walk lists on my first campaign. So
I didn't even have walk lists on my first campaign. I just went door knocking on people's doors and was like, oh, they look home. So
and then I used campaign
I
used Campaign Sidekick last year because that's what the state party provided to the local party. So it looks really cool. I know he worked a lot of the kinks out during the 22 election cycle. I really like the idea of having everything all in one place. And kind of having the whole timeline mapped out and important dates and all of that. So yeah, Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and anybody who tried Salvo in the past, that was the beta test. So that was where all the information got compiled so that Rogue could kind of put it together and kind of work out all of the kinks. So he took all of that information, all of the feedback of like, this doesn't work or this needs to be fixed or
I like this or I don't like this or all of it.
Or like, oh, this part's really cool or can we emphasize this? That kind of thing really makes, he took all of that information and was just very asking questions to the candidates and really gotten down into the nitty gritty and really figured out what was the best tool for candidates to be able to not only be effective, but also efficient.
Yes.
Because most candidates have full-time jobs or they have other
Or
responsibilities.
in Abby's case, like 3 full-time jobs.
So to have something like Salvo really kind of helps simplify things and make things kind of easy. And then you can grant other, like if you have a volunteer, I believe you can like grant access that then they were like,
nice.
I'm going to go knock doors or, whatever else. So
it helps you keep track of, like, if you're a precinct committee person, you want to keep track of the people in your community. It would help you be able to like put in, I was at the grocery store and I was chatting this so-and-so liked my shirt and I asked them if they're a registered voter in my neighborhood and yes they are, and I pulled up their information, and you can put like an interaction in and say, nice. The note about what, so when you go to contact people in your neighborhood for get out the vote, you're like, remember me? We met at the grocery store.
I need that just for general in life.
I feel like I need that for my life. I know I remember looking at that and I was like, I kind of need that for my life because I will run into people because having so many kids also in different venues and all the things that they do. I mean, and Boca's such a small town. Like I see people all the time and I'm like, I know that person. And how do I know that person? And they'll remember what we talked about last time. I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah.
Well, what's really interesting, I'm starting to have people come up to me and be like, oh, hi, Jessica, nice to meet you, and I'm like, hi.
I have no idea how I know you.
Do I know this person? And then
we know all of you.
It's like, I watch your podcast.
Yes.
Like, thank you for watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Because it's like I'm going nuts, like going, I don't think I've met this person before.
Then you feel like a crazy person and bad. I'm like, I'm sorry, have we met? Because I remember people's faces. Like I remember people's faces. I will remember your face
getting
forever.
Bad. I'm like, I'm 46 now. What does this mean? And I'm like, cool.
Thanks.
The whole conversation changes after that. But for a second, I feel like I'm crazy. But really quick too, I want to kind of shout out for myself, Empowered Consulting Group. I have been a certified life coach for over a decade now, like 10 years, I'm also a Reiki Energy Master, Reiki Master Teacher. I'm certified in all kinds of healing modalities. But what I've done is I've kind of created a niche over the last few years about really helping people be empowered. And this is really what kind of makes me successful in the Republican Party as a regional director, is I really empower our committee people to go out there and vote and be confident in the way that they speak to voters and making sure that they're educated. So I kind of do that in all aspects of my life. And a couple times a year, I take on a few clients. So right now, I am taking on a few clients. So if anybody is interested in having services with me, you can reach out to me. You can email me at jessica@jessicajansen.com. And I do like a little brief questionnaire. If you just do one single session with me, you usually get some really good insights about yourself. And then if you want to go further than that, we can create a plan that's tailored to you. One thing that I'm adding to my repertoire this year is candidate development. So if you are interested in being a candidate in the future, or you are a candidate and you want some body language tips, how to converse confidently, little mannerisms that you may not be aware of that you do that I can kind of point out and help you redirect. So that's a little thing that I'm adding because I have worked with a few candidates in the past. I'm working with a couple candidates now. They love what I do for them. So I kind of want to offer it if anybody's interested. So that's Empowered Consulting Group with me, and you can email me at jessica@jessicajansen.com if you're interested in those services. So thank you for that little bit of insight and information. I appreciate it.
I'm going to give a commercial.
Yes.
I don't have any cool businesses. However, my dad just wrote a book and it just got published.
Woo!
So I want to give a shout out to that. And if you're interested in reading it, it is called, I have to remember the correct order of the name. It is called A Drug Dealer, an Atheist, a Drug Dealer, and a Rabbi.
Yep.
By Ira Brower. So congrats to my dad. It's been a labor of love for the last couple of years. We've always been after him for years to write a book. He's a very interesting story, as you can tell by the title. And he finally sat down and he did it, and it just got published. So it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and wherever good books are sold. So we're going to be having a book launch party, reading thing for him probably in the next couple months. So, he's pretty cool. My dad's an REC member. He's like a kind of an OG REC member. He was an REC member when I was a kid, like a teenager. Yeah. My mom used to go with him to the meetings. It was like their date night. So they would go up to West Palm and they'd go out for dinner, and then she'd go with him to these meetings. And she's like, and I always fell asleep.
So this is a personal story about your dad,
this is
right?
this is a personal story about my dad. So he's always been involved in the Republic, not always, but for a very long time. My dad can name every president and their opponent going back to 1950. Wow. I'm not even. He can tell you every race and what went down in the races to get those people.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We should have him on the podcast.
We should have him on the podcast.
I love your dad.
Yeah,
I think that would be awesome.
He's great. So, so shout out. You can find it on Amazon. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really
I
good.
love the title. Yeah. I absolutely love the title.
And the cover's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So I'm going to order it. So I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm definitely going to order it. I want to get into that. So I think that's going to be awesome. One other update really quick. The Surgeon General demands halt on the mRNA vaccine. So this is something that people should be watching and paying attention to. I forgot I made a little note that I wanted to do that. So yes. So the Surgeon General is demanding halt on mRNA vaccines, saying that they are harmful. So be sure and let your voices be heard. If you agree with that, make sure that you're letting everybody know in your state legislatures that they need to do something about this. So,
but Joe Biden said they were safe
and effective.
Yeah,
they were neither safe nor effective.
Nope.
Joe Biden lies.
I saw one of the
What? Don't say that.
I saw one of the Sun Sentinel reporters tweeted about Latipo and his, his statement, saying that it was based on an already discredited study.
Of course, that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's oh gosh.
Yeah, but needless to say,
I'm stick to the school board reporting, buddy.
So
you're dipping your toe in an area that you don't understand.
Your lane.
I know we've got to finish up here for a second, but we're from Michigan, and so I grew up in a very small town. Stuart grew up in a small town. There's a small town, Byron Center. It's probably 100,000 people, maybe.
Yeah, probably that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A what center?
It's called Byron Center. It's a city.
We're on the Mitten.
Oh, a city.
It's right by,
in the last 2 years.
It's over by Grand
Yeah,
Rapids.
it's west,
Okay.
it's just outside of Grand Rapids.
It's just south of where I grew up.
Yeah, and so 50 people have died.
Wow.
In what, the last 2 years?
And it was the last year or two, or
last year
from
and a half.
COVID to it was a year and a half.
Suddenly,
50 middle-aged men.
Middle-aged, healthy.
Every one of them heart attacks.
That sounds so sketchy.
Yeah. And it's and this is small town, small community, kind of everybody knows everybody. Yep. Everybody goes to church together, and
it's unusual. They're seeing unusual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Listen, someone today, I asked, something that happened. They're it got canceled because the person's kids, old adult child, died. And I was randomly? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not random.
Sad.
I mean, not random, but
but
not.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Is they're trying to say it was just an untimely death, or
there's been a lot of those lately.
Yeah, I'm you can't
an unusual amount.
Yeah. So it's just very interesting. So anything that we need to finish up with? Any comments or anything tonight?
Our next episode is January. I don't even know what today is.
Today's the 4th, so 11th, 18th.
18th.
Oh, that's going to be a busy week.
Every
Tuesday,
week.
Wednesday, and Thursday.
It's always a busy week.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah.
So it's going to be.
Oh, because the REC meeting's the third Wednesday.
So it's the night before?
Yeah.
It's the
And
third.
then
So we'll have a lot to report.
And my South County meeting is that Tuesday.
Oh, you do have back-to-back.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy week. All right. Well, join us.
That episode's going to write itself.
The Code Enforcement Board will be back in session
Fired but
this
mostly
month.
peaceful.
We were off
Part
November
2.
and December, so that'll be that Tuesday. But the last 2 meetings lasted literally 11 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Really,
So
I
it'll be
have
quick.
2 cases.
So we don't have a guest scheduled, so I think that we'll be able to kind of talk about your race, and that will be good. And then going into February, we'll just see if we can get some municipal candidates in to get us prepped for.
Yeah.
So for
I could
for
definitely
municipals.
reach out to my brother in the southwest corner. I'm sure he'd be glad to.
Very
come
interested.
on the
I'd like
show.
to hear what's going on down there.
He's
down
a good guy.
south.
He's a real good guy.
Down south.
Awesome.
All right. No, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Any comments or anything?
Oh yeah. Comments?
So sassy gal Janine, I think that's Janine
I think so too.
from the north part of the county.
Yep, I think so.
She said, "Hi, ladies. Sorry I'm late."
Aw.
Aw, welcome.
And then she said when we were talking about like finding common ground with people on the other side of the aisle, like most of us agree on more than we disagree.
Yeah.
Yes, very
Yeah.
true. Very true. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Definitely appreciate it. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, go
No.
ahead.
Want to go ahead and thank our sponsor, Salvo.today. And
Oh, your dad said thanks for the shout out.
Welcome.
Aw. We get a portion of the books. No, I'm just kidding. I want to thank our sponsor, Salvo.today. You can follow us on X at We The Locals FL. You can follow us on Facebook at We The Locals. Check us out online at WeTheLocalsPodcast.com for sponsorship opportunities and more about us and links to our channels. You can also email us with any questions, comments, anything that you want us to know at WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. I want to say Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024, and make sure you have a great night and stay local, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.